Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome to episode 6 of Maker's Mic, a music makers podcast presented by LR Bags. Our guest this episode is Joshua Hedley. Josh has spent the past several years performing at Nashville's best honky-tonks, Robert's Western World and the Nashville Palace. His eloquent baritone voice and fiddle-playing skills can burn through an entire catalog of country classics as though they were his own, and in many respects, they are. It's the music he grew up on, and the music he's come to know so well. But now Josh has his own stories to tell, and his own songs to sing, and he's about to show the world. Josh recently sat down with Jack White and signed a record deal with Third Man Records. One more thing I'd like to note before we get started. This interview was recorded a week before Hurricane Irma made landfall on the southwest coast of Florida, which just so happens to be where Josh is from. His mother and several of his friends and family were heavily impacted by this storm, along with countless others. Please help out in any way you possibly can. Thank you. Did you know that we have identical cats?
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I have
Nice.
I have an orange
They're
cat.
the best.
Yeah.
They're the best ones.
Mine's a female.
Oh,
which
that's
actually,
rare.
if you have an all orange female, it's really rare.
Yeah, I have a friend who has a male and a female.
Yeah.
One cat's enough for me, though.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Before we met, I'd actually seen you play down at Robert's a whole bunch of times.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. My wife and I lived down there downtown for like 5 years between 2005 and 2011.
Where
in there. The Exchange. It's like
Okay.
right by Printer's Alley.
Okay, yeah, I lived in the Market Street apartments.
Were you living there during the flood?
No, I was out by then. I was in East Nashville.
Dude, yeah, because I had some friends that lived there, and their apartment was like, the water was like a foot off the ceiling.
Yeah, I lived on the third floor, so I would have been all right.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, I just kind of progressively moved east. Well, it's not really east, but when I moved here, I lived on West End, and then I moved downtown. Then I moved to East Nashville, and then I moved to Madison.
Yeah, just keep
Just
getting
getting
pushed a little
further
further
away.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where are you from originally?
I'm from Florida.
Oh, okay. What
Yeah.
part?
Southwest, Naples, Florida.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, my mom's freaking out right now. She's bracing
for Irma.
Irma. She's like, she's supposed to come up here Sunday. She was supposed to fly up here, and she's like, I'm just going to take the cats and load up the car, and I'm going to drive. I was like, I bought you a plane ticket, though.
Got to save the cats, I guess.
Yeah, she's like, I'm just going to drive to Georgia, and if it gets bad, I'm just going to drive up to Nashville. I was like,
okay.
Just relax. They usually don't hit.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
quit freaking out and just batten down the hatches and go to Orlando or something if it gets bad.
Yeah. I have an aunt who lives in Bonita Springs.
Yeah, it's real close to me.
Is it? Yeah, I love what's that island? Sanibel?
Sanibel. Yeah, it's beautiful.
Man, it's the best. The best seashells.
Yeah, that whole area, Southwest Florida, it's gorgeous, but it's like if you are not super rich or a redneck or old, it's like you got nothing there.
Yeah. Well, when did you move to Nashville? How long have you been here?
It's actually on the 11th. It'll be 13 years.
Okay.
I've been here a minute.
Yeah.
It's before the change.
Right. Yeah. Uh-huh. Back when people didn't go to East Nashville.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you move here for music?
Yeah, for sure. I started visiting here in the summers with my parents when I was 12, and I would go to Mark O'Connor's fiddle camp out in Dixon.
Yeah.
And then we would do that for a week, and then we would come into town for a week. And I would just kind of bring my little fiddle downtown, try to sit in with the bands and stuff, and go out to the old Nashville Palace, which was only a few doors down from where it is now, but they used to have like a talent contest night there, and I would go play that. And then flash forward to now, the drummer Willie Cantu, who was doing that, is now the drummer in my band.
Cool.
Yeah, it's kind of cool.
Comes full circle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was also the drummer for Buck Owens from 1964 to 1968.
Shit.
So it's pretty cool to have him back there.
Yeah. Is most of your band made up of
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
kind of old timers?
Well, not old timers per se, but they're all old road dudes.
Yeah.
Like my steel player was a po-folk. He played with Bill Anderson for a long time, and then guitar players played with a bunch of people. He's played with like Wade Hayes and Mark Wills and Colin Ray and some of those 90s and 2000s guys.
Yeah.
And then my bass player played for Randy Travis for like 15 years, I think.
Cool.
And my fiddle player he's played with a lot of people. With I think played with Mark Chestnut, and he played with most notably with Tracy Bird. But yeah, they used to be a band. They used to have a guy named Monty Good that sang for them, and I used to just, when I was drinking still, I just came down there, and I would sit. They played Monday nights at Roberts, and I would sit in the back and just get totally hammered by myself and watch them and get up and sit in with them. And then Monty moved to Texas, and I was like the first person to raise my hand. I was like, hey, if you guys want to keep this Monday gig, I'd love to take over for Monty, And yeah, they gave me the call when he moved. The Roberts staff gave me the call, and it was, pretty conditionary on how drunk I got during the set. So I had to tone it down, and then, I've been doing it for, I guess, 3 years or so now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that Monday night gig.
Down at Roberts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I was going to ask you about that because when I told you my wife and I lived downtown, I worked at Market Street. Do you remember that bar and restaurant down on 2nd Avenue?
Yeah.
It's like kind of an English pub.
Yeah.
Microbrewery.
Definitely.
Way before like Yazoo and before microbrewing became
right.
like the cool thing.
There's like 100 of those in Nashville.
I know.
Now.
Yeah. They're everywhere. When my wife and I lived down there, we would always inevitably end up at Roberts.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, we never went to other honky-tonks. I think I've been in Tootsie's maybe once. Yeah. I occasionally would go into Layla's to see Gypsy.
Mm-hmm.
But it was always Roberts. If friends came to town, if family came to town, we'd always go down to Roberts. What is it about that place that makes it it's the best, right?
Yeah, it's the only place to go.
Yeah.
I think. Layla's is cool, and it just, when Layla's had the low stage on the other side with the chicken wire by the door and like no TVs in there, it was a lot more, gritty, and it felt more real. But they got to change with the times. A lot of you got to keep up.
Yeah.
Roberts is just, it's the same. Like, they don't care about keeping up. People like that. That it's never changes.
Yeah.
They're never going to have tap beer. They're never going to have TVs,
Yeah.
Bush is always going to be in a can. That sort of thing, it's.
I also feel like the quality of the musicians that play there is so much better than everywhere else.
For sure. It's, for the most part, it's road guys, they come in there on their, when they're off the road to supplement their income and stuff,
Yeah.
and then you get a super high quality, and it's road guys that are, playing for Wade Hayes and playing for Marty Stewart and playing for Randy Travis. It's not the new guys.
Yeah.
You get treated really well at Roberts too. It's not like, I mean, I don't know if this is true or not, but supposedly when you get hired to play at Tootsie's, you immediately are given a list of songs that you have to play. You can play other songs, but you have to play these songs, and it's all bullshit. Like "Don't Stop Believin'" and like
Yeah.
just like "Shook Me All Night Long" and
Yeah.
stuff like that.
You could have stopped at "Don't Stop Believing." Like,
Yeah.
I get it. Yeah.
They don't stop believing, and they never stop playing that
Yeah.
song.
But they don't do that at Roberts.
Nah.
Yeah.
As long as it's classic, you can play whatever you want.
Yeah. So there's more freedom and
Yeah. You should probably lay off the murder ballads if you want to make any tips, but you can play whatever you want.
Yeah. Do you foresee yourself being like sort of doing residencies and playing at Roberts for
Yeah, man.
into your late years?
Yeah, I'm gonna play there as long as I can. I love that place, and even though my plate is starting to fill up with stuff, with touring and all that, you know, the band that plays behind me stands on their own, and they can cover a shift,
Yeah, if you
very
have to
well
be out for
when I'm gone.
Right.
So, um, my guitar player Kevin's a great singer, and my bass player Bill is a great singer, and they kind of take the reins while I'm gone. But I definitely want to play Monday nights at Roberts until they tell me I can't
Yeah.
anymore.
It's nice I mean, it almost feels like you have a home here in Nashville.
It's definitely home base.
Yeah.
I've been playing there for over 12 years now. So
Yeah. That's awesome. I want to play a clip really quick from our video interview with Johnny Fritz, where he talks about meeting you.
Hedley, Josh Hedley. Oh God, I saw him play at Roberts, Western World like 7 years ago, and I was putting together a band for a record called Down in the Bikini Line, and I really wanted to do it like the old school way in Nashville, like go downtown and pick guys off the stage. Like, you want to be on? You do session music, and that's how I did it. And I asked him, and was introduced to him, and met him and shook his hand 6 times before he remembered me. And like the 4th time I was like, this is ridiculous. You've got to remember me. This sucks for me. Like I was determined to be that guy's friend, and he's just like, ugh, no more, like no friends. I don't want any more people. And now he's one of my best friends, of course, and we've been playing together ever since.
So I just want to ask you, is that an accurate portrayal of how you guys met?
For sure. I was wasted back then all the time. And I'm already bad with names and faces and stuff. I have such a hard time remembering anything, let alone one of the 10 people that I met that night,
Right.
And add 15 Jack and Cokes to that, and it's like memory's gone.
Yeah.
It's erased. And then it finally took I finally figured out who he was. And of course he was Johnny Corndog back then, and I was just a real asshole, and I did not want to play with somebody called Johnny Corndog.
Yeah.
And my girlfriend at the time, I was riding in a car with her, and she was playing his song "Torture Chamber," and I said, "Who is this? This is funny. Like, who is this guy?" And she's like, "It's Johnny Corndog, you idiot." And I was like, "Oh yeah, I'd love to play with this guy." And she kind of reintroduced us, and I said, "Yeah, man, I'd love your stuff and I'd love to play on your record." And then 7 years later, we capped off our time together with a big world tour, you know.
Yeah.
So we had a long, and I talked to him today, uh, and yeah, he's one of my best friends, and he's been my biggest like cheerleader and my biggest supporter in
Yeah.
all of this. He's like kind of the reason why I'm doing what I'm doing now, just based on the fact that I didn't really want to do anything like that.
Uh-huh.
And then,
You're talking about like sort of going solo
yeah,
and to signing a record deal and
yeah, I didn't really care about doing any of that, and I didn't really want to do it. And he and Nikki Lane were the two that were just like, "You're a fucking idiot. Just do it." I was like, "All right," like, you know. And he would always, not always, but you know, every once in a while, he would during his set, he'd be like, "Why don't you play one of your songs?" And I'd, you know, take the guitar and play one of mine. And you know, that's when I kind of figured out, I was like, "Oh, people like these songs,"
yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
like when people started responding to them. I was like, well, shit, maybe I should do this. And then,
Songs like Weird Thought Thinker.
yeah,
and-
yeah, that was
Uh-huh.
the one, man. That was the one that I said, it's my big hit. It's my only hit. It's not a hit.
But if
You
you
know?
sing it and people respond to it and they like it, you know,
Yeah.
it kind of encourages you to.
Yeah. And then, you know, now I'm doing it, and I wouldn't be doing it if he like,
So would you say that over the years he was like a mentor to you,
for
or
sure.
yeah?
Yeah.
I didn't
Big
know
time.
if that was the case, or if you guys were more like Bo and Luke Duke, you know, or
It's
the
both.
Bushwhackers,
Yeah.
little wrestling.
Oh yeah, but it's both. It's
Uh-huh.
you know, I think like I was playing for other people before then, and it was always like it was a job. It was a sideman gig, you know. It's Justin Towns Earl and his band. You know what I
Right.
mean? Which
Yeah.
is fine, which is normal.
Yeah.
But for whatever reason, Johnny and I just sort of became not interchangeable, but like it wasn't Johnny Fritz and his band. It was like Johnny and Josh always. Like it never I never felt like a hired gun. I felt equal to
Yeah.
him, you
Uh-huh.
know. He treated me like an equal, you know, in most respects. I know there's been times where he paid me and he didn't get paid, you know. It's not often that a sideman, nobody
Okay.
knows who sidemen are.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
But it's like everybody knows who Willie Nelson is, but not a lot of people know who Jimmy Day was, you know?
Right.
And Jimmy Day was just as instrumental on those, his steel playing was just as instrumental on those Willie Nelson records as Willie's voice, you know? And it's takes a lot for a sideman to break through that barrier and have people know who he is. And Johnny is like the sole reason why that happened with me at all.
Yeah.
You know, and if that hadn't happened with me, then none of this would be happening now.
Right.
So it's I got everything to owe to that guy.
It's a good
So,
good friend to have.
yeah.
Yeah. Between your Twitter feed and his Instagram feed, man, I mean, somehow there's like a comedy performance or a movie or something
Yeah.
between you guys, man.
Man, Third
That's-
Man must not know about my Twitter. I don't. There's there's no filter on that. My mom reads it sometimes, and I'm like, oh shit,
Yeah.
don't read my Twitter.
Yeah.
It's.
I'm not on Twitter, but when I was like, you know, digging up some research and finding questions to ask you, I spent probably a good hour scrolling through it, and like I think I went back like 5 years.
Yeah.
Or something.
It's really dumb. It's really stupid. It's whatever thought is in my head at the time. I call it stream of unconsciousness.
Yeah.
And it's it's just sometimes it's, nice, like congratulating Margot on her record announcement or something.
Yeah.
And
Uh-huh.
then sometimes it's about making omelets with human excrement.
Yeah.
It it's a mixed bag,
Yeah.
that Twitter account, and then the picture to
What,
John
dude, what's
Travolta.
up with John Travolta? Tell me about that, man. I gotta know.
I just started doing it on Instagram again.
Yes, I noticed.
Yeah, it's just a troll. It's just like it's so dumb. It really started at this bar D's. I was hanging
Yeah.
out. I was on a date and like they were playing Urban Cowboy, and the girl that I was hanging out with was just like, he used to be so hot and now he looks so crazy. And I just started finding all these wild photoshopped pictures of John Travolta, and she hated him. And so it started out sort of me just trying to annoy her,
Yeah.
because that's how I flirt with women, is
Yeah.
just to be annoying. Doesn't work. Uh,
Maybe
and
if you're
then
like 8 years old.
yeah, and then I found out that it annoyed everybody, and so I just kind of started posting it, and I'll like just kind of go off on a tangent of that thing for about a week and
Yeah.
then forget about it. And I think this last round, like people are starting to get legitimately mad about it. There's been
It's
some
funny because it's going
comments.
through waves.
Yeah.
Like when it first started, I've followed you on Instagram for a while. And when I first saw it, I was like, oh, that's weird and creepy.
Yeah.
And then it was like the second time it was kind of funny. And then it started to get old.
Yeah.
And then it got funny again.
I just like to run it into the ground.
Yeah.
And I think that's happening now. If somebody was just like, please stop, or like, enough already,
Yeah. Yeah.
People don't like it. I lose Instagram followers because of it, but that's even more funny to me.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
that's
Like,
hilarious.
look, if you can't take it, then
Yeah.
see you
So
later.
weeding out the,
Uh-huh.
the bad ones.
Yeah. You, you're as much as you're like funny and annoying. You said it. Those are your words.
Yeah.
I also feel like you're pretty open and honest about like insecurities and like stage fright. That picture you posted, it's like a otter or something holding a guitar.
Yeah.
And it looks so nervous, and like you put all that out there in the world too.
Yeah, I'm an open book, man. I don't hold back anything.
Do
You
you get
ask and I'll tell you what's up.
do you get stage fright, and do you get like
Sometimes, it depends. I get it most in small settings. Like,
really?
yeah, it's just like the intimacy of playing for 25 people is way more terrifying than playing for 2,500 people,
Huh.
Like,
Yeah.
I know in a room of 2,500 people, there's probably not that many of them paying attention,
Right.
But if you're playing in a small room with 25 people, all eyes are on you. And usually it's like pin drop quiet. And if you fuck up, then everybody hears it and everybody knows. And
And you can
that's
see
terrifying.
you can see everyone's reaction.
Yeah.
Yeah. Huh.
And I do get it occasionally. It just depends on my mood too. I'm just moody,
Yeah. Um I was at that show when you played the Opry.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm
for
a
the
huge
boogie.
Jerry Jeff fan,
Yeah.
and I had to go see him because like he never, unless you're in Texas, you're not gonna really
Mhm.
get a chance to see him.
Yeah.
So when I found out he was playing, JP posted about it, and I was like, I'm I'm there. I'm going to that. And then I found out you and JP were
Yeah.
also playing that night.
I'm a big Bobby Bear fan, so I
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
really pumped when Jason asked me to do it, and yeah, it was killer, man. No stage fright. It was
Just more excited.
I'm lying. I was terrified earlier in the day. I was terrified.
But
And,
was that because you were potentially about to meet Bobby Bear? And
No, it was playing the Opry stage and standing in that circle.
Yeah.
I did it once before and it was horrible. I've messed it up royally with Justin. And I just kept thinking about that. And like, so the first time I did it, I was just playing fiddle for Justin and I just stuck my toe in that circle and I just was instantly like shaking and like freaking out. And I just right out of the gate, first song, I screwed up the intro. And that was on the Opry. Like,
oh yeah.
you know, that was on 650 and everybody heard it.
Yeah.
And I just kept thinking about that and like thinking about everybody who's played in that circle and the history. And I thought about the flood and just everything. And I was like real worked up. And then I used this Kanye West mantra to sort of get myself pumped up. I use that my life is dope and I do dope shit, you know. And I just kept saying that over and over again to myself, and my girlfriend was like, "You're an asshole." And it worked though, you know.
Yeah,
As soon as I
whatever
walked
works.
out onto the stage, I was like, "Yeah, I got this." You know.
Yeah.
And then it was really cool. And
Yeah.
it was
That was a
like,
great show.
It was really great. Bobby Bear, he played 500 Miles from Home and Margie's at the Lincoln Park Inn, right? Those are my two favorite songs. And he played them like back to back. I was
Yeah.
like, I could leave now. I could die now. Like, that's fine. I heard him do 500 Miles and Margie. So,
Did you get to meet him?
yeah, I'd met him once before, but I got to, meet him, and he, it was cool that he was there and heard me play and stuff. And he was like, "Yeah, you sounded really good." I was like, "Oh shit, this rules."
Wow. Yeah.
And because I know his son really well, so his son the first time I met him, his son wasn't there, and it was just sort of backstage, and he was like, didn't really want to be bothered. But this time, his son was like, introduced us, and we talked for a minute, and I told him how much I loved those two songs, and it was really cool. He's a nice dude, and he's just a great singer of songs, and he has a really cool like swagger, I love that.
Yeah. You ended your show that night with "When You Wish Upon a Star."
Yeah.
Right. That was awesome.
Yeah.
I really like that.
I don't know. I grew up going to Disney as a kid with my folks. We went at Christmas time usually, and it was just it was a big part of my life. And my dad passed away a few years ago, and he never really got to see any of this stuff that's happening to me. He always wanted it,
Yeah.
He always wanted it for me, and he didn't get to live to see it happen. And so when I was thinking about, what cover should I put on this record, I always want to put a cover on a record because it sort of harkens, to my honky-tonk days and stuff. And I was like, I don't know what cover I should put on this song. And then it just hit me. I was like, I should do a Disney song. And then I should do the Disney song, When You Wish Upon a Star. And I kind of came up with that swing arrangement in my head, and it worked out. And the record version's really cool.
So it's going to be on the record.
Yeah, for sure.
Man, that's a great story.
It's got some really cool vocal parts and
It's
accordion and stuff.
It's pretty hard to top Jiminy Cricket, but
yeah,
dude, you nailed it.
I'm like, who gets the mechanicals on that? Is it Jiminy?
I thought it sounded great, man.
Thanks, man.
Yeah. So let's tell me about signing with Third Man.
Yeah, that has been wild. I didn't really.
Were you familiar with were you familiar with the White Stripes or?
Oh, for sure.
Of course, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, especially now that he's in town and has a record label here.
Yeah.
But back in the day, were you like?
I mean, I think anybody with cable television in the 90s or in the early 2000s, like, was familiar with the White Stripes. That
Yeah.
Lego video was
Yeah.
everywhere.
Uh-huh.
And then, if you're a sports fan at all, the Seven Nation Army is
Oh,
like
right.
the
Yeah,
new
yeah,
Gary Glitter,
Yeah.
you know.
Uh-huh.
But I was definitely hip to him, and my best friend Corey Yance, who plays an Old Crow medicine show, he left Old Crow for a minute. Well, they went on hiatus, I guess, and during that time he went to work for Jack, and I had played a couple of those Blue Series 45s
Right.
prior, so I knew him already.
Yeah. And you're
Um,
probably good friends with Lily Mae too, I would
oh,
imagine.
for sure, yeah.
You guys right
For
next door to
years.
each other
Actually,
for a long time.
When Jack was building his 2 bands, I got a call from a guy working with him, and they were like, "You know any chick fiddle players that are good?" I was like, "Yeah," and I was like, "Yeah, Lily Mae,"
Yeah.
and she got the gig.
Yeah.
So I've known Lily. It's like such a common story. I've known Lily since she was like 14.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and she's great. And I made an EP. Well, I got sober, and I had all this free time and all this extra money that I didn't have. Not enough, but I was just enough to where I was like, well, I'm going to book some studio time and worry about how to pay for it later. And I did that, and I ended up making this 4-song EP that I was going to put out in Australia for a tour. And I had been doing some work with a lawyer for that, and he was like, "Man, why don't I just shop this thing around?" I was like, "Okay." So he sent it to some labels, and one of those labels was Third Man, and then all the rest of the labels came back wanting it, and I was like, "Well, let's wait and see what Third Man has to say." And then they came back and said that they wanted it, and I went in to do, or I went out that night when I found out that Third Man was interested. I went out that night, and I ran into this guy Josh Smith, who works with Third Man. He's like a sound engineer, and he said, "Man, your record's great." And I said, "How'd you hear it?" And he said, "Jack played it for me." I was like, "Oh, okay,
Cool.
so they're really interested, and I guess they wanted to do like their normal Third Man sort of release. They just put out your album.
Yeah.
And I went in to do this photo shoot they put out a book on all the musicians who played on the Blue Series, and I went in to do a photo shoot for that, and Swank, who's sort of the kind of runs the label, came out and was like, "Man, we love your record and we want to put it out. Can we?" And I was like, "Yes, for sure." And I said, "But I have more songs, and if you ever want to do anything more, holler at me." And they did. I guess he ran it by Jack, and Jack said, "Yeah, if they just got more songs like these, then let's do it. And they offered me a contract, and I'm now one of 5 people, including Jack, signed to Third Man Records.
That's awesome.
So yeah, it's cool.
Yeah.
Kind of the only male country guy on there. Craig Brown's a little more rock and roll, and then Jack's like definitely rock and roll.
Yeah. So, and you just kind of finished recording pretty recently, right?
Yeah. I was really chomping at the bit, and I just booked the studio time and to finish the record. And then they came at me and they're like, "We need to get together and talk about when you're going to get in the studio." I was like, "Oh, I already booked it." They were like, "Oh, you did?" I was like, "Yeah, same studio, same guys." Like, okay. And so yeah, the record's been done, uh, other than putting finishing touches on it and
Uh-huh.
stuff.
That's really cool though that they like you just went for it and they I mean I don't know what they could have said, but other record labels could have been like, "Well, no, we want you, now that we have you under contract,
Yeah,
we
yeah,
want you to go with these guys and like record here."
right.
But they were just like, "No, you did this. You've kind of already done this. Turned out great, so they just let you do it again."
Yeah, well, I mean, I knew that I for sure wanted to finish the record with the same guys in the same place, just to sort of like keep continuity.
Yeah.
And so regardless, I wanted to do that anyway, and it just kind of makes sense to do it that way. But there was never like they had no input on the creative side. They didn't want to have any. Um, Everything from them is like on the back end, sequencing and mastering and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And they just sort of gave me a budget and let me do what I wanted to do, and I got to make the record that I envisioned in my head. God, it's so cliche bullshit. I was able to make my dream a reality, you know. But it's true, you know.
Yeah.
Actually, literally the title track of the record, I did dream. I dreamt that song, which I always thought was bullshit when songwriters said that until I did it. Mr. Jukebox. I literally woke up at like 5 a.m. because I dreamed a song and I wrote it down and I cut a little phone demo on it. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I guess if you're thinking about something enough,
Yeah.
then
I had already kind of
creeps
thought
into your subconscious and
I come up with the title and I was like, that's a cool title, and it kind of sort of an ode to my time in the honky tonks and stuff.
yeah.
And feeling like
That's-
a human jukebox.
That's the immediate feeling I got from it.
Yeah. And so that was sort of I'd been thinking about it, and then when I woke up, I had the whole song, and all I had to do was write it down, like chords and everything.
Uh-huh.
It was wild.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So they really did make my dreams a reality.
Yeah, and now you're a believer.
Yeah.
Don't
now I'm a
stop
believer.
believing.
No, shit.
Yeah, your sound is very much like that jukebox kind of classic
Yeah.
country. What did you grow up listening to?
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I grew up playing
Ray Price and
Yeah. I started playing in like VFWs and stuff when I was 10. And by the time I was 12, I was like actually a member of bands. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like when I was 10, I was just kind of the cute kid with a fiddle sitting in playing Orange Blossom Special.
right.
But, as it got more serious and as I got better and kind of was learning how to improvise and stuff, I started actually being in bands, and it was always with dudes in their their 40s and 50s,
Right.
and
Uh-huh.
I'm 12,
Yeah.
and that's what they were playing was Merle and George Jones and Ray Price
Uh-huh.
and
Charlie Pride and
yeah.
kind of music my dad listened to.
Yeah, and that's sort of it just immediately spoke to me. And when I was 14, I started singing. The majority of everything that I did was just the old school stuff.
Uh-huh.
And cuz it's what I knew,
Yeah.
and it's what I liked, and it happened to work out that it's what the rednecks that I was playing for liked too.
Yeah.
So
Did you ever get into other like genres of music? I guess?
not really. I mean, I listen to everything,
Uh-huh.
and I'm not one of those like I listen to everything except for this and except for that. Like, there's only two kinds of music. There's good music and bad music. But the only thing that I know how to make is classic country music.
Yeah.
You know, but that's a large umbrella. So,
Yeah.
you know, Ray Price in 1956 is a lot different than Ronnie Millsap in 1983. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, there's a broad scope when you say classic country music. It's it changed stylistically like every 10 years. It still does.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
yeah. Hopefully it'll change soon.
yeah. I'm hoping it starts working its way backwards.
I think it is. I feel like it's going there. I mean, a lot of like our peers, I guess, are
people are fed up
taking it back that way.
You know.
Yeah.
I think there's a lack of artistry in it. And it's getting so dumb that people are starting to realize that it's like, hey, wait a second. Like,
but there's still so many people out there who
I know.
love that dumbness.
Yeah. There will always be that.
That's for another podcast.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit more about the new album. So when we first met, Mike Newsom had stumbled into Roberts, saw you playing.
Yeah,
I guess
a year
2015.
Ago. 2 years ago.
It was 2 years ago.
Yeah,
yeah, because it wasn't last year's Americana,
that's right.
but
it was the year before.
Yeah, he went into Roberts. You were playing. You had our. Maybe you were playing your guitar with our M1 or your fiddle. I think
both.
As our pickup. And he invited you up for a video session. You played Weird Thought Thinker and Broken Man.
Yeah.
Are those songs going to be on the album or?
Weird Thought Thinker is definitely going to be on the album. Broken Man is recorded, but we're still figuring out if we want to put it on the record or save it for something else. It's looking like it's going to go on the record. There's room on it. You know, I kept 2 songs back just in case I wanted to put out like a 45 or something.
Sure.
But like right now it's a 10-song record and it's 29 minutes long. So, there's room to put
a couple
extra songs on it, and there are people in the team that want me to do that, but there are also people in the team that don't want me to do that. So I'm sort of just kind of figuring out what I want to do, and then you know,
you'll make some people happy, and some people will just have to deal with it.
Yeah. So we'll find out. But
you happy with the record?
Yeah, couldn't be happier. It
cool.
Came out perfect.
Great,
it's
man.
exactly what I envisioned. So, and that's, you know, I had 2 really good producers in Jordan Lenning and Skylar Wilson, and Jordan's. I mean, they both have pedigrees, so it's really cool. Of course, Jordan's dad is Kyle Lenning, who produced all the Randy Travis hits, like all of them. You know.
Yeah, I know his brother Eric.
Eric, yeah.
Is there a lot of fiddle on the album? Because that's kind of that. I mean, that's sort of your main. Would you say that's your main instrument over guitar?
Man, it's my first instrument, but anymore, you know.
Are you not playing it as much as you?
I'm not playing. Well, I mean, I'm definitely not playing it as much as I used to, because I used to only play it. I just don't want to front a band with a fiddle. I hate it.
Yeah.
It's hard to. It draws too many comparisons to Charlie Daniels. Not that there's anything wrong with Charlie Daniels. I just don't want to be constantly like, man, you're just like Charlie Daniels. I'm like, oh.
Can you play Devil Went Down to Georgia?
No. Yes, I can, but no, I won't.
Right.
It's just.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, so I play mostly guitar, and there's fiddle on the album, but it's more in line with the Ray Price thing where it's, twin or triple fiddle intro,
Yeah.
type deal. It's not like I'm not playing any breakdowns or anything on the
Yeah.
record.
Yeah.
Although I am thinking about putting out a fiddle record, a tape.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I think that would be cool. I just grew up with so many fiddle tapes. So I just think it would be cool to put out. I mean, it's a tape, so nobody's going to buy it, but it would be cool to me.
I like that idea.
Yeah.
Signed a record deal.
Mm-hmm.
Cut the record.
Mm-hmm.
The record's going to be released soon.
Yeah.
Right?
Soonish.
The next natural step is touring, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you just got off the road with Old Crow, and
Mhm.
now you're about to go on the road with Justin Townes Earl.
Yeah.
You wanna talk about, I don't know, just expand on those.
Yeah. Going out with Justin is going to be cool. The tour with Old Crow was awesome. It was, those guys are real dear friends of mine, and they approached me to come out and play 2 shows with them. And it was actually kind of funny. It turned into like a week-long run because even though I only had 2 shows, the plan was that I would fly into Brooklyn, play the show, and then ride the bus with them till we got to Northampton and play that show, and then fly out of Northampton. But there's no airports in Northampton. So the closest one is like 50 miles, like an hour away or something. So I rode the bus to Northampton, and then they only had like 3 dates after that. So I just rode the rest of the way, and they ended up bringing me out every night to sing Wichita Lineman, and it was really cool. And it was really funny to see the reactions in different areas, like coming out in Portland, Maine, where I've played before. There was a number of people who knew what I was, so there was like crowd reaction, but there was like a show where it was like he catch announced me, and it was like dead silent. Like no one. And it was just hilarious. But it's the name of the game,
Yeah.
coming up. But it was cool to be able to ride the bus with them and hang out with them. And
Yeah. Might not be that way forever,
I don't know.
After this
Sure,
record comes out,
it's going to be hard going back
people
to.
are going to know Josh Hedley.
It's going to be hard going back to driving myself around, though. But it is kind of cool to be going out. I'm doing Australia with Justin.
Oh, okay.
In October, and then we're doing the States in November, and it's another kind of full circle moment because he was the first person to take me on tour in the States.
Okay.
And I played with him for 6 years, I think. Toured with him for like 3. Yeah, so the fact that I'm going on my first big, more than just a weekend or a week,
right, with
tour
him.
with him as a solo artist is kind of cool.
Are you guys playing any Nashville dates on that?
No, it's what they call secondary markets, which is such a stupid name.
Yeah.
I mean, those
industry jargon.
Yeah, it's just dumb industry jargon. But I mean, especially when you're playing country music, because secondary markets are the people
primary
who like
market.
country music.
Yeah.
I think the closest we're getting is Atlanta.
Okay. I've got 3 kind of goofy questions that I like to ask at the very end. Well, I mean, they're not like ridiculous, but number 1, what are some of your Deserted Island albums?
Ooh. My Deserted Island albums. That's hard. I'm not an album guy. I'm a song guy.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense because like playing at Roberts, you have to cover a wide variety of.
And just, that 60s.
Maybe give me a couple of songs you'd take with you.
Yeah, for sure.
You could just list off like 2 or 3. Doesn't have to be a bunch.
I will give you one album. Ray Price, Nightlife. It is Buddy Emmons at his absolute peak, in my opinion. my band and I always joke around that it's a Buddy Emmons album that he let Ray Price sing on. And that one, I've really been into this song, Bright Lights and Blonde Haired Women, off of that record. I had a similar question asked to me in an interview recently where they said, if you had earbuds and you were on your deathbed and you could listen to one song, what would it be? And my answer was I Love by Tom T. Hall. I think it's like the perfect example. It's the example of country and western writing at its absolute perfect state. Like simplicity and honesty in a song. He had such a way of saying so much with so few words, you know. He's like the opposite of like a Springsteen type who was gonna like try to cram. Springsteen had this special way of like cramming as many words into a phrase as he could. And then Tom T is I love little baby ducks, old pickup trucks, slow moving trains and rain, and I love you too. Like it says so much. And that line in there where he says, I love leaves in the wind, pictures of my friends. Something about him, I've got goosebumps now from it. Something about pictures of my friends really just like, it really gets me. I don't know, I'm getting like kind of emotional thinking about it right now. There's something about that line that just like stabs me in the heart.
Yeah.
In a good way. Like in a like makes me feel kind of way. So that's a big one for me. And Notorious B.I.G. Juicy.
All right.
Yeah.
That may have just answered my one of my other questions. Is there an album or a band that you listen to that might surprise people?
Oh, well, that's one.
Notorious B.I.G.
And I really like Savage Mode by 21 Savage and Metro Boomin. That's see,
not
that's
familiar.
A new rap guy.
Oh, okay.
But that record's a couple years old. I listen to a lot of hip hop that probably most people would not think that I do, but I always have. And
I went through a big hip hop phase back in high school, like Wu-Tang and
yeah, for sure. I remember trading. I had to keep them hidden from my mom. I traded. What record was it? One was Green Day's Nimrod, and I can't remember the other record, but I traded them for the second record of Wu-Tang Forever.
Yeah.
And Juvenile 400 Degrees.
Uh-huh.
And I had to keep those hidden from my parents.
Yeah.
But I listened to them all the time. And Wu-Tang, I was really into. 36 Chambers is like kind of a perfect hip hop record. And it changed anything that was like a game changer is important to me. Like Wu-Tang Clan was just, it was 9 people making a record.
Yeah.
And in hip hop, it was like, at that time, it was, you know, all about single dudes, sort of the group aspect
and then
of it.
They all broke off and like started making solo albums, and they were all so good.
Yeah.
Method Man and Raekwon and
those like the first 2 rounds of solo records from those guys are really great. And RZA is just, you know, he's such a great producer, and Jizz as a lyricist is like kind of untouchable.
Yeah. Except
for Notorious B.I.G. He's the greatest. He's the GOAT. He's the greatest of all time. The way he could turn a phrase. Yeah. Like if you were to ask me, you know, about a list of favorite songwriters, you know, Tom T. Hall would be on there. Roger Miller would be on there. And
Biggie.
Yeah. and Biggie.
That last night I finally got around to watching Straight Outta Compton.
Yeah, I still haven't watched it.
Yeah, I was like, I wanted to see it when it came out, and then I just, last night I was bored. It was on HBO. I was like, just happened to catch it right at the beginning.
Yeah, maybe
It's
I'll
really
watch
good.
it tonight.
Yeah.
I got shit to do today, so.
Which kind of is a good segue from a previous question into the next question. Is there a movie or a TV show that you've been thinking about lately?
Yeah, I watch a lot of TV. I don't now, especially now that I don't drink. I'm like trying not. I don't go out as much anymore because there's no reason for it. So I stay home a lot.
It's like me because I had kids.
Yeah. I have, I guess, 2 answers.
That's
One
fine.
would be I'm watching the new Twin Peaks. I have no fucking idea what's going on.
Oh yeah, did you watch it like as a kid?
Yeah, well,
The
not
original?
as a kid, but I have watched the original.
Yeah.
But I can't figure out what's going on. I'm on the 12th episode, and they're still introducing characters, and like there's still like new things happening that have nothing to do with anything else, and like I'm like, is this all going to be tied up at the end? How many episodes are there? Like,
yeah, it's just gonna end, and you're still gonna be confused. I haven't seen it.
I'm banking
I
on
like
that.
the original series, but
And then I watch a ton of wrestling. I watch wrestling like 4 days a week. And my favorite thing going right now is it's sort of like the farm team for WWE NXT. It's on the on the WWE network, and they just debuted 3 of my favorite indie wrestlers. One especially being Adam Cole, and he just made like a huge debut at their pay-per-view right after, and like instantly in the main event picture, and I'm really pumped about it. And him with Kyle O'Reilly and Brian Fish kind of in a Ring of Honor. They were all in Ring of Honor, and now all 3 of them are in NXT, and they're in a faction together, and I'm really hoping they play it out into like an old school WWE WCW invasion angle, like. And it's on tonight, and I'm really like pumped about seeing it.
Didn't you go to WWE event recently?
Big time. Always. I have a friend who works for WWE, so he does catering for them, and
looked like you had pretty good seats.
Yeah, we had second row ringside.
Yeah.
Before, the comp seats are always awesome, but now that he like works for WWE proper, like we have second row ringside, and it's awesome. It rules. I took my girlfriend, and she was like, I was like, we were driving there. I was like, you might lose some respect for me. Like, she knows that I like wrestling. But I don't think she knew the severity of it. Especially when me and my buddy Heath get together and go, it's like we mark out really hard, and we yell at the refs, and just, but I took her, and her bandmate was actually working there, and so it was the 2 of them and the 2 of us, and we were all, I mean, she was just as into it as we were. And it's just fun. It's really fun, and those dudes are in such great shape, and they're so athletic. But yeah, that's one show that I'm thinking about always is wrestling.
Cool, man. You want to play a song for us?
Sure, I'd love to.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Let's get set up. All right, we're all set up here. What song are you going to play for us?
I'm going to do, it's the opening track from the record. It's called Counting All My Tears. It's sort of about running into an old lover on the street, you know, and maybe she's moved on, but you haven't moved on. So it's sort of a conversation between a one-sided conversation, him sort of just pouring his guts out. So, yeah. Hello, honey. It's been a long few years. How am I doing? Well, I'm just counting all my tears. You look so happy after all I've put you through. It's nice to see you after so long. How's the world been treating you? Well, yes, I noticed that ring there on your hand. What's his name? Any children? It's okay, I understand. I don't expect you to forgive me, but moving on's my greatest fear. Till then, until I'm ready, I'll just be counting all my tears. The first one's for the memory of the greatest love I've known. And by the time you reach the second, there's a million more to go. Each drop contains a memory of a time when you were here. Now I spend my sleepless nights alone, just counting all my tears. Now I spend my sleepless nights alone, just counting all my tears.
Yeah, man. Yes.
Thanks.
Dude, Josh, thanks so much for joining us
Thanks
today.
for having
I really
me.
appreciate it.
Yeah.
That was awesome. Thanks, everyone, for listening. I'm not sure if Josh has a website at the moment, but you probably know how Google works. Make sure to check out his Twitter feed for music business insights and the latest recipes. And hey, if you like what you heard, make sure to subscribe to our feed. And please rate us and give us a review on iTunes. We'd love to hear your thoughts. We'll catch you next time on Maker's Mic.